Hi folk, my name is Goblin, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a build guide. I've been using this build on my stream and a few people have been asking me, what kind of build are you going for with this kind of playthrough, so I thought I'd make a video teaching you how to get the kind of build I'm using on my stream. So this build is focusing around two-handed, like a berserker, very high damage build. Now the damage in this build is the easiest part. It's very easy, you just basically you pick a 200 weapon and you smack the hell out of people. The hardest thing about this build is making yourself tanky, and the defensive part of this build is where it gets challenging against the particular part that you want to basically pay attention to. So obviously you need to choose a race, so let's load the save that skips the tutorial. There are a number of races I would recommend, so your decision may depend on certain little differences between those races, or basically which race you prefer the look of the most, so I will give you some options. First of all, like on the topic of being tanky, one of the issues is magic damage. Like taking magic damage, going against mages is going to be pretty difficult, so you may want to go for the Breton race for that passive 25% resistance to magic. So that is a very good choice if you want to be, if you're going for, if you just want to be a little bit extra safe, you're gonna be playing on a very high difficulty, then yeah, I would definitely go for the Breton. But the other option is Nord. I need to quickly check the starting stats for Nord though. To be honest, I think Nord is a bit of a bad option. I don't think I'd recommend it. But anyway, we'll talk about it in a sec. I think this well, not the best option. I think Breton and Orc are like fairly equal. But basically Orc, they have the highest heavy armor starting stat than any other race. And the reason why that's not quite, like Nord have the highest two-handed stat, but two-handed levels pretty quickly. Heavy armor levels very slowly because it depends on whether you're getting hit, and it just seems to level a lot slowly than the weapon skill. So having a high armor skill early in the game is very useful for getting those early perks to make you tankier. So, and you've also got Berserker Rage, which is probably the best racial power in the game because it's going to double your damage and reduce your damage. So it's like the ultimate boss killing ability ever. So I'm going to recommend Orc or Breton for this build. So for your standing stones, I reckon the standing stone options change from early in the game to later on in the game. For any build guide like this, I'm going to recommend getting the Authorial Crown, which allows you to have two standing stones at once. And the reason being is because you can stack your experience increasing stones with stones that give you kind of advantages that you previously may have not been able to take advantage of. And you can also stack the Lover Stone with one of the Guardian Stones, and then if you take it off and get the Lover's Comfort Stone, you can stack that so you can get like 15%, 15%, and 20%, which goes up to 50%. So I'd recommend using that trick to early in the game to increase your experience, because at the end of the day the game gets a lot more interesting the higher level you are. You get to see different monsters and stuff, and when I get to a point where I'm like kind of happy at my level and I'm seeing interesting monsters and stuff, and I decide that I'm not really bothered about experience anymore, I just want to play the game. So yeah, the Authorial Crown, you want to, so the Lover Stone and the Warrior Stone you can stack down early for high XP. But obviously I obviously said that these builds suffer kind of defensively, so you may want to go for the Atronach Stone, which is good for resisting magic damage, and you can stack it with the Breton Sign, which is really useful. I think you get like passive 75% magic resistance, which is really nice, especially for taking down dragons and stuff. And you also get a little bit of the boost to your Magicka, which means you may want to get you can get like a tiny perk in a restoration tree to kind of like go into those emergency healing situations where you switch to your healing spells, and because you've got like that extra boost to magic, you can probably heal up quite quickly. And the other option obviously is the Lord Stone, and those are the primary stones that I recommend, so the XP stones and the Lord of the Atronach stones. So let's quickly talk about the skill options. Obviously you got two-handed, You could do this with light armor if you really want. It's going to make the game a little bit more difficult. Personally, I would just recommend going for heavy armor. What you got to do, yeah, so for primary skills is two-handed heavy armor. You also want to start using, you know, blocking with your two-handed weapon, and the main thing you want to get is this perk here, which is called Quick Reflexes. And basically, the reason why is because, like, when you're blocking, even with, you know, just a two-handed weapon, it's gonna slow time. So it sometimes helps you, like if you're blocking and backpedaling, the time slows, but the game kind of acts like you're moving faster. So instead of like, you don't have to power bash to counter like an ability, you can just keep moving backwards, and you can have that extra time to get back and avoid attacks when blocking. So you're basically just going to use blocking to go have a bit of slow-mo moment, and then just kind of walk backwards to avoid damage. So yeah, definitely recommend that perk, but you don't meticulously have to level up block, but I just recommend getting that because it's a good game style to start using to, you know, just to survive. But yeah, any of these perks which basically say that, you know, it only works with a shield, then don't get it, basically. Another thing I definitely recommend though is smithing. Even if, you know, you find smithing quite boring, I don't know why people would not go for smithing, because you can improve your armor. You can take your armor like to the next level, you can increase the armor rating of your armor, and that just generally makes you a lot more tankier. I'd also recommend enchanting, because I recommend these two skills for any kind of build you want to go for, because first of all it increases your levels pretty quickly, and it just provides so many advantages. Like with the enchanting, you obviously get stronger enchant, and then once you get the health enchant, then that's pretty mental. You want to be enchanting as much. I think you can enchant 2 pieces of gear with a health enchant, so that's what you definitely want to be doing. And you can also increase your damage, but the main thing there is increasing your health. You want to get to the point where if the game gets too easy because you're that tanky, and then you have to put the difficulty up to make the game challenging again. That's how tanky you want to be, basically. And you don't really want to go for any other skills than that, particularly. But like I said before, getting like a few perks and restoration may be a little bit helpful. Definitely early in the game. I think I'm actually gonna use that perk now, because you will, until you get this particular weapon at level 20, which I'm going to talk about, keeping yourself alive is going to be a little bit difficult. So let's talk about leveling up. As you can see right now, I have 270 health, and I'm level 17. I think, or 18. I have not invested any points in Magicka or stamina. Right, the reason why I don't go for stamina is because I very rarely use power attacks of this build. Power attacks, if you bother to use power attacks, you will actually do less damage per second. The only advantage of a power attack is you stagger people, which is good defensively, because a good offense is a good defense, but I never really struggle to get stamina, because you only need like a little inch of stamina to actually do a power attack. So really increasing your stamina doesn't provide that much of a benefit to me. I've never really seen that as that much of a benefit, because you don't need a lot of stamina to do power attack, and increases your carry weight, which, you know, you can just dump over stuff on your follower to kind of deal with that. And once you get the conditioning perk, then sprinting becomes a bit easier. But I mean, you've got a horse. You know, you've got a horse to travel around on, so I just don't really see having no stamina as a real issue for me. So the first weapon you want to get until you get to level 20 is definitely the long hammer, right? It's does it size up? Okay, it does a little bit less damage, like base damage, than like a dwarven weapon, but look at, if you read it closely, basically it swings faster. The weapon will swing faster, so it's actually the highest DPS weapon in the game until you get the net. Actually, it might even be higher than the next weapon, but I'm not going to talk about that. But the next weapon, I tell you what, let's. By the way, this particular weapon is found in Liar's Retreat, which is here on the map. So there's Markarth. There is the Liar's Retreat. So I'm going to show you where this next weapon is. You are only going to be able to unlock this at level 20, basically when you're at level 20, you're going to go into Dragon's Reach. Can I sprint? I should just up my level for the video, but basically you're going to get a quest from one of these little boys. One of them, they'll start talking about something. And anyway, I'm going to show you the weapon. But basically this is where you get the quest. You get the quest in here at level 20. It's not going to be hard to find. If you research the weapon, which I'm going to show you right now, then you're not going to have any difficulty well, getting to it. So if I type unlock here, and yeah, the Whispering Lady. It's kind of funny how she's actually in the game she's registered as a you know, as a, because you need to be an item in the game, and she's just a cuppet. I can't actually get through. I'm gonna have to type TCL. For fuck's sake, my microphone is in the way of where I. TCL. Okay, so this is the weapon here. It is called the Ebony Blade. So basically, it's an infinite enchant for a start, as you can see, and basically, well, it hasn't absorbed. The actual base damage is actually pretty low. But the thing is, because of the enchant damage is so high, kind of makes up for it. That's why the weapon is lower to compensate it for it, so it doesn't become too overpowered. But basically, it's yeah, it's an absorb life enchant on the weapon, and it's an infinite enchant. It also, you get strengthened by killing innocent people, so you want to try and kill as many innocent people and get away with it to rack up the power of this weapon. And yeah, that is probably, I would recommend this weapon the most. If you're getting literally so tanky that you barely need this weapon, then you can go for a different weapon if you want, like the long hammer, or just, you know, something like a Daedric Warhammer or something like that. And just as a last note, I've just been messing around with the standing stones and the crown item. Sometimes it doesn't work. Like if you go for, you know, the Lover Stone event for the Warrior Stone, sometimes it just like doesn't properly activate. What I did to fix it was go to a different stone, and I went to a different stone. And then I went back to doing the Lover Stone and then the Warrior Stone. So yeah, that's just, if you're finding it doesn't work and you can't stack with Lover Stone and Warrior Stone, just try to stack it with something else and kind of reset it, and that should fix it. Anyway, there isn't really anything else for companions. Really, there's nothing like specific to this build. You may want to go for a companion who heals you if you really want it, but really I just go for the high damage companions. For the companions are excuse me, I recommend ranged companions, specifically magic ranged companions, because they can start doing damage, you know, instantly as soon as you go into a fight, whereas melee ones kind of like have to run up, and you know, they can kind of like get annoying. If you're gonna go for a melee one, I'd recommend going for somebody with two-handed. But at the end of the day, like, companions never really take that much damage. Having a tanky companion isn't really that useful. I just go for a high damage companion. So go for someone with two-handed. I like Stagnvar, the guy in Windhelm, whatever he's called, the guy with two-handed. He's got, so check out the stats for each of the companions. Go for the ones with two-handed or destruction, and ones of healing. And yeah, that is pretty much it. That's going to be the end of this video. Stay tuned for, I'm going to do like an illusion kind of mesmer build next, so stay tuned for that, and I'll be streaming later on tonight. My name is the Meta Goblin. Until my next video, ciao.